Human beings are wired to connect. That's why solitary confinement is one of the harshest punishments, because it cuts us off from the very thing that keeps us sane, human connection. In a narcissistic relationship, this need is used against you. The narcissist gradually and strategically isolates you until they become the only person you have. And that makes all of their other manipulation tools hit harder. Emotional deprivation is the hidden abuse that amplifies all the others. I'm Emma, a medical doctor and the survivor of narcissistic abuse. In this video, I'll explain how emotional deprivation works, why it can make you feel desperate, confused, and ashamed, and how it warps your sense of love and safety. Stay tuned till the end, where I'll share two personal stories, one from my childhood and one from my narcissistic marriage, that will show just how damaging this tactic can be. There is a type of abuse almost no one talks about. There is no screaming, no bruises, no name for it. But over time, the abuser becomes your only emotional lifeline. How? They isolate you, subtly or directly. They move you away from your support system. They stir up conflict with family and friends, spreading suspicion, gossip, or lies. They suggest your friends are jealous of you or untrustworthy. They discourage or sabotage your time with others by refusing to babysit, guilt-tripping, or making guests feel unwelcomed. They overwhelm you with the responsibilities so that you are too exhausted to reach out to anyone else. And the result, your world shrinks, and the relationship with the narcissist becomes the only meaningful adult relationship you have left. Which means that their approval, their attention, their crumbs of kindness start to feel like oxygen. In the body, chemical reactions happen all the time. But there are some compounds called enzymes that can speed up the process, making it 100 or 1,000 times faster. They don't cause the reaction, they just amplify it, making it faster and more effective. That's exactly what emotional deprivation does in the abusive relationship. Without it, the silent treatment is just uncomfortable. With it, it becomes torture and you will beg for it to stop. Without it, you might walk away from gaslighting. But with it, you start to doubt your reality. Without it, the relationship might feel draining. With it, the relationship becomes your whole world and you're terrified of losing it. I once read a story about a woman in solitary confinement. After a few weeks, she started to look forward to the grumpy guard bringing her food each day, because that was her only human contact. That's what emotional deprivation does. Even interacting with someone cold, cruel, or distant can feel like connection. And you'll do anything for a soft smile, a small touch, a kind word, even if it's followed by days of silence and coldness. This type of deprivation changes you over time. You lower your standards just to survive. You feel ashamed for needing attention or support. You start to chase breadcrumbs, believing they're a feast. Your sexuality, sense of self, and emotional patterns may become distorted. For example, if the intimate setting is the only place where your narcissistic husband ever shows you any appreciation, you might start to crave intimacy and chase it more than you would otherwise. This tactic doesn't just break you down, it changes you to fit them. Now I will share with you two real-life stories from my life, from periods where I have lived through emotional deprivation. The first story is from a period when I was 6 years old. Because of my father's work, he had to work in another town for 2 years. And my mother decided that I should go and live with him, even though that meant me being alone at home for many, many hours during the day and being away from my siblings. This was a period where she did criticize me a lot. She often accused me of not listening or not hearing her when she spoke to me, and told me things like, "Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said? Is there something wrong with your ears?" I also had a stuffed animal cat that I've had since I was a little girl, and that cat was really important for me, especially during this change where I was forced to move away from my friends and from my siblings. But my mother threw that pet cat away without asking me beforehand. And she told me that my little sister, who was 2 years younger than me, had destroyed the cat by clipping off the fur because she didn't like me. This is something that I realized actually as an adult, that this was her triangulating us. So she wanted to split us. And I also remember that I was actually the one who had cut a bit of the fur because we were playing with the stuffed animals, and I had cut off a little bit, but the stuffed animal wasn't all destroyed. And I really missed that stuffed animal during this period. During the summer before I turned 7, my mother grounded me for the entire summer because I had done something that she didn't approve of. So I was forced to remain indoors when my siblings were there and when they were out playing. And during the same period, she complimented my younger sister a lot when she did stuff that I couldn't do. So she was very strong. My younger sister could stand. I could stand on my hands and I couldn't stand on my heads, but my younger sister could stand on her head, and then she could push herself up to stand on her hands. And my mother would compliment her and saying how strong and good she was. And I remember that it felt really painful, and I became jealous of my sister because my mother said such good things about her. And during the same period, I also remember an instance where all of the family were lying in my parents' double bed. So my parents and 3 siblings. But my mother said that there's no room for you, so you can't come. And I became so upset by not being allowed to come into the family bed that I started to scream very, very loudly. And that was out of character for me. And my mother became angry, and I only remember that she told me that you need to stop screaming because the neighbors will hear you. So this was a long time ago, and I was small, so I can't remember all the details. But these are some of the instances from this time period that I do remember. And I do remember feeling sad. I remember crying one time, and my mother irritatingly asking me, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I'm not crying, the sun just hit my eye." So there was no real interest in my feelings, and I feel that she also did some of these things to purposefully torment me. Probably this was a period that was tough on her in some way, and she took it out by tormenting me. Then I can tell you how emotional deprivation played out in my marriage. So after we had 2 kids, I had a very hard time interacting with any other adults. because first I was home with them, and then we didn't have preschool, but I was constantly taking care of the kids. So I never got any help from my husband with caring for them. And that meant that I brought the kids with me anywhere I went, and the children needed a lot of focus and attention because they were small and very energetic. So I never had the real deep conversation that felt connected, because there was always interruption from my children. And I love my children deeply, but children need you to tune into them and give them love and attention and affection. And of course, they give you affection back. But I really missed having someone understand me. I really missed having someone being empathic or listening to me for a while, or just having an adult conversation about connecting with someone. When I did start to work, I was working full time. And when I did not work, I was in charge of the children. And my husband started to demand that I do more and more chores at home. So I stopped having, I very seldom met anyone because I didn't have the energy. Like, the work and home and the kids took up all of my energy. And if I took the kids to go to someone else's home, I had to keep an eye on them, because I can't just let them run wild in their home. And I did want to invite people over to our house, but my husband made it very difficult, and he didn't like having anyone over. One period, he actually forbid me to invite anyone, and he wanted me to ask him beforehand. And then he came up with this rule, like, you shouldn't give the guests any food, because then they will just expect that you always make food for them. So if anyone comes over, you should just give them hard bread and butter and cheese. In Sweden, we have this hard bread that lasts forever and cracks when you eat it. And that's not very hospitable. So that made it hard to invite anyone over, and he started to dislike it, as I said. So it made me very isolated. And when he was home, he would, in the end, our relationship became so bad that he would ignore me if I tried to tell the story about something fun that happened during the day. So it made me feel like when he rejected me, I felt like I don't have anyone in the whole world who are interested in me, or who understands me, or who I can connect with. I'm all alone. So his rejection became so big because he isolated me from everyone else. So it didn't just become his rejection, it became like the world's rejection. So this is how emotional deprivation works. It creates a need in you, and then punishes you and shames you for having it. If you recognize yourself in these stories, you are not alone. You are not too clingy or too needy. You have been emotionally, chronically underfed. The cure isn't just to leave the narcissist. It's reconnecting with safe people, rebuilding your internal worth, and remembering this. You don't need to prove that you're worthy of love by starving for it. If this video resonated with you, I do have a video about psychological warfare. That could be your next step. I'm Emma, holding up a light over the bridge. See you in the next video.